Let me ask you something real. When was the last time you felt truly hungry? Not for food, for growth, for something that stretched you, for a challenge that made you a little uncomfortable. It's easy to chase success when you have nothing, when the bills are piling up, when your back is against the wall. That hunger is primal. You wake up with urgency because survival depends on it. But what happens when you start to win? When you get the job, when the paycheck is steady, when life becomes easy? That's the trap. Comfort, you tell yourself you've earned the right to relax. And while rest is necessary, comfort becomes dangerous when it turns into complacency. The slow, silent killer of progress. They've mastered the ability to stay hungry even when they're full. Even when things are good, you stop reaching. You stop pushing, but not growing. If you've hit a plateau that you can't explain, this message is for you. The most successful people in the world are not just talented. So if you feel like you've lost your edge, if you're doing well, it's time to wake that hunger up again. Because progress is uncomfortable. Growth requires discomfort. It demands that you do things you're not used to. And comfort tells you to avoid all of that. And here's how. First, let's acknowledge something. Comfort feels good. It's supposed to. Your brain is hardwired to seek it. From an evolutionary standpoint, comfort meant safety, predictability, less risk of danger. But that wiring, while useful for survival, works against you when it comes to growth. So when you're not careful, success can put you to sleep. And then one day, you look around and realize you've built a nice, neat box for yourself, a life that looks good on the outside, but feels flat on the inside. You stop experimenting. You stop taking risks. You start coasting. Maybe it's impact. Maybe it's legacy. That's not where you're meant to stay. So how do you break out? You start by reconnecting with your why. But if you only grow when forced to, you're reactive, not driven. Speak in public even when they fear it. Not because they have to, but because they refuse to get soft. In the beginning, hunger comes from desperation. But as you grow, it must come from purpose. Ask yourself, why did I start? What was I chasing beyond the paycheck, beyond the position, beyond the applause? Your why has to evolve as you do, otherwise it fades. If your original motivation was survival, and now you've survived, then you need a deeper reason to keep going. Maybe it's mastery. Build the habit of doing things you don't feel like doing. The hunger returns when the goal becomes bigger than comfort, when it becomes a mission. Next, you must create your own discomfort. This is where most people fall short. They wait for life to challenge them. The belief that you've arrived, that you've learned enough, done enough, grown enough. They study new trends. They ask better questions. They surround themselves with people who challenge their thinking. The most elite performers, thinkers, leaders, they manufacture discomfort on purpose. They take cold showers, wake up early, train harder, read more, set insane goals. Discomfort becomes a daily discipline. If life isn't pushing you, you must push yourself. Who am I learning from? What am I bad at that I'm willing to get better at? Start with small challenges. Build discipline, build resistance, and energy are heavily influenced by the people you spend time with. That energy rubs off on you. That habit becomes your edge. Then you have to stay a student. Comfort creates a dangerous illusion. But the moment you stop learning, you start declining. The best in any field stay hungry because they stay curious. You can be content and still strive for more. You can be grateful and still want growth. The difference is humility. Humility keeps you open, teachable, grounded. Arrogance tells you that you already know enough. And that is when hunger dies. If you want to reignite your hunger, ask yourself every week, what am I learning? And if the answers are empty, then it's time to change your environment. Speaking of environment, let's talk about your habits, mindset. If you're constantly around people who are comfortable settling, comfort becomes contagious, but so does hunger. Surround yourself with people who stretch you, people who think bigger, people who are chasing something that makes them come alive. That doesn't mean abandoning old relationships. It means expanding your circle to include those who raise the bar. You cannot stay hungry in a room where everyone is full and sleeping. Next, you need to keep something in front of you that scares you. If your goals don't make you uncomfortable, they're too small. Hunger thrives in the gap between where you are and where you know you could be. But if that gap doesn't exist, if you've stopped setting bold goals, then you will plateau. Create a vision that pulls you forward, one that's so big it forces you to grow into it. Then break that vision into steps, small wins that keep you moving. Track your progress. Celebrate effort, not just outcomes. That builds momentum, and momentum feeds hunger. Now let's talk about the mindset that fuels lasting hunger. It's called the growth mindset, coined by psychologist Carol Dweck. The growth mindset is the belief that your abilities, intelligence, and potential are not fixed. They can be developed through effort and learning. When you live with a growth mindset, you stop fearing failure. You see it as feedback. You stop seeking comfort. You seek challenge. And that shift makes you unstoppable. Because even when you reach a new level of success, your identity stays rooted in growth, not achievement. You don't lose focus just because things are easier now. You don't become lazy just because you earned a little freedom. You keep evolving because that's who you are. not someone who needs pressure to perform, but someone who chooses to grow every day. So how do you live it? Start with this mindset. Nothing is ever finished. Your fitness is never finished. Your relationships are never finished. Your skills are never finished. Your mindset is never finished. You are a work in progress until your last breath. That's not exhausting. That's empowering, because it means you always have room to grow, to reach, to create, to become. And that truth keeps the fire alive. Finally, make time for reflection. And before we know it, we've lost track of what matters. This might sound strange when we're talking about hunger, but clarity is fuel. When life gets comfortable, we move on autopilot. We stop questioning. We stop thinking deeply. Build reflection into your routine. Ask yourself each week, am I growing or coasting? Am I choosing challenge or choosing comfort? Am I proud of how I showed up? What would the hungry version of me do today? Write your answers, don't just think them. Write them, because when you see your truth on paper, it becomes harder to ignore. That kind of self-awareness is rare and powerful. It brings your hunger back to the surface, to rest, to breathe, but never let comfort rob you of your drive. So here's the truth. Comfort is not the enemy. Complacency is. It's okay to enjoy success, not just of achievement, but of depth, discipline, character, purpose. You were built to grow. You were made to stretch. You were meant to keep climbing. No matter how good life gets, there is always another level. And the hunger to reach that next level, that's what keeps you alive. So if you've lost the edge, now is the time to take it back. Reconnect with your purpose. Create daily discomfort. Stay a student. Choose bold goals. Feed your growth mindset. Reflect often. And most of all, choose hunger over comfort every single day. Because the moment you stop chasing more of who you could be is the moment you start shrinking into less of who you are. Keep reaching. Keep growing. Stay hungry.